Welcome to Plot Twist Radio, the show where creativity, storytelling, and the unpredictable path of the creative life all collide. I'm your host, Erin Egnatz. What would you do if doing the right thing might cost you everything? A stranger appears, bloody, desperate, screaming for help, and suddenly you're faced with a choice. Do you open the door or do you survive? Today's guests aren't just telling scary stories. They're asking the kind of questions that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. From the festival circuit to the global premiere on Alter, the filmmaking duo behind The Girl in the Street are redefining what modern horror can be. Chris Paicely and Miles August blend psychological tension, moral conflict, and striking visual storytelling to explore a terrifying question. Is being good actually enough? Chris, Miles, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey,
Excited
thanks
to
for
be
having
here.
me.
Can you guys just take turns? Chris, you can go first. Introducing yourself for the listeners.
Yeah, I'm Chris Paicely, writer, filmmaker, basically storyteller. Like, just really like to. I'm deep into the horror genre, to sci-fi genre, and so excited to talk about the work that we've done, and just horror in general. I think.
Yeah, same. Well, not the same name, but I'm a exact same name now. No, I'm Miles August, and I kind of similarly writer, director, do some design, music, a lot of things,
All the
and
hats.
yeah, all of the above, and just a horror junkie, like love to tell stories, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about the film.
That's very cool. And congratulations on the Altar premiere. What did it feel like to go from the festival circuit to a global platform like that?
Yeah, it's kind of strange because up until this point we've never had sort of a public online premiere to that extent. We've made some other short films, and usually you kind of hit the festivals and see what happens, and then you don't really know what to do with it. Like, that was kind of the issue with our first film. We're like, okay, now what? And the cool thing about The Girl in the Street was that I think it's just really validating to not only go on this festival journey, but to have a platform like that reach out to us. And sort of say, "Hey, we like what you're doing, and we want to show it to people." And they're really cool to work with. Very creator friendly, and it's been a cool like first week, like to get some good attention, get some good comments and feedback and conversation. Still kind of processing it, honestly. You know.
Yeah, it's kinda overwhelming, like, it's funny because we had, like, a lot of, cool, like, unique experiences at some of the festivals, and, like, the film was always, like, received well at the festival, but it's a room full of people versus I don't know how many people, online from just all over the place, like, there are different people in different countries, it was, like, a lot, I was like, "Wow, this is feels way grander than, like, what we've done up until this point." But yeah, I'm still kind of processing it too. But I'm appreciative, like, of all the altar for one, just because they were like very like communicative. They were constantly, letting us know, giving us updates on things, and I love working with them. And yeah, just the feedback from like the audiences it was awesome. I was like, oh wow, like I guess the film is good.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool. And I love asking duos this. How did the two of you meet and get started working together?
Yeah, a friend introduced us. He kind of thought that we might have mutual interests, and apparently he was right. And so this was over 10 years ago, and we just were always talking about films. We were Every time we saw each other, it'd be like, "Did you see this? Did you see that?" And we'd kind of do our little mini review, and that kind of evolved into a podcast that we did with a friend of ours, where we sort of talked about films and did a couple of kind of different approaches to like podcasting about films. And I think the itch that we really needed to scratch was to make something together. And so we kind of stopped and started quite a bit. And then we finally like really got going. I think it was in 2021, we started work on our first short film together. And so since then it's just been, I mean, we work together really well. And I think a lot of it ties back to just we both like a lot of the same things. And so it's really easy to work with somebody when you're kind of working towards the same conclusion. Like we we both want the audience to feel this type of way. And with that in mind, we're really good, I think, about um even if we like disagree about something, we can kind of get past it because we'll kind of lean back into, well, what are we trying to accomplish? And then we'll kind of go in that direction. So it's been dope. It's been a great like probably like past, I guess, 5 years of really just doing film stuff together.
I feel like we've been in college, like, together.
Right.
The past couple of years, we've definitely, like, learned a lot and, like, just kinda and things we just sort of naturally happen. Like, I don't know if we ever sat down and decided we're gonna do horror stuff. We just kinda did horror stuff. Like,
Yeah.
maybe that was a conversation, I don't know, but I know, like, we just generally, to Chris's point, like, tend to gravitate to some of the same things and just we circle around a lot of the same things. And we have this weird thing that happens now where he'll text me something and I'll have just thought of the thing that he was texting me or vice versa, where we are kind of, I think, in each other's heads or something right now. So
Definitely.
it is a cool process of, like, having someone to bounce ideas and work collaboratively with. I feel like we get the best version because we're taking both of our strengths and, like, kinda molding them together to get it the best outcome.
That is awesome that you guys can work so well together. So tell me a little bit about the girl in the street.
Yeah. I'll let you start.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, where to start? So, like, we were in South by Southwest actually, like, 2 was that 2 years ago? I can't remember now. Like, about 2 years ago, and Chris had this idea, and we kind of pitch ideas to each other constantly, and he kinda was working through some of the elements, like, I think even before we got down there, and he was kind of telling me little tidbits of the story, and we were getting ready to shoot another short, just before that. And when he explained the story to me, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I like that, like, write it, let's do it." And I think he wrote it while he was still down there because I left a little bit earlier from South by Southwest, and then he kinda was down there and wrote the script, came back with a script, and then the next thing I knew, we were going from one meeting to, like, just talking to our producers to actually being like, "Oh, okay, I guess we're doing this right now."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like the story, it's in keeping with a lot of the things that we tend to gravitate to, which is obviously horror and sort of thriller and some suspense, but it is dealing with like sort of normal, mundane, life. And sort of obviously it's to the extreme. Like, I hope this is not happening to anybody, but it kind of sort of started around just small things that we were, identifying in our own lives and just the context of like going into a new location or being a part of suburbia or whatever sort of like thing you have to acclimate into. So kind of like start there and then it sort of flourished into like what it is now where yeah, I don't know. Like it that's kind of like how most of our ideas I feel like start.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of, it was a lot of, like, part of the impetus behind it was the idea around a mask, a character in a mask, and Miles had shot, like, this kinda short documentary about this mask maker named David Nez, who, is based in Chicago, and he told Miles, like, he would be interested in making a mask for us if we ever had a need for it. And that was kind of why my gears started turning around this story and what the story could be. And it started out as like this guy in a house, girl shows up in the street. I was thinking, like, what's the creepiest thing that could happen? And I looked out my window and I was like, somebody was just standing out there screaming. I don't know, that'd be kind of creepy, right? But then I really wanted to subvert the idea that, oh, it's like the strangers or something, and they're just trying to break in and kill you or whatever. I was like, man, what would it look like if there was more to this? There was some lore and there was some history and there was some kind of ritual and like it sort of evolved into that. And then we started injecting ourselves into it. Like, well, what does it mean to go somewhere new and become someone else? And how much of yourself do you have to give up to become a part of a new community? A friend of mine moved to like a suburban town, and the first year they were there, they put up Christmas lights, and the neighbors knocked on the door and got on them because they had the wrong color Christmas lights. Because the whole neighborhood had to have the same color Christmas lights to have this effect they were going for. And I was like, man, like there's so many little things that you have to. And then the next year they had the correct color. And it's like, man, what does it mean to become a part of a cult? It could be as simple as that, right? Like the cult of Christmas lights. And so like there's layers to the story that I think we wanted to play with, and you can only do so much in a short film, but we thought it'd be interesting to just kind of tease out how what is Malachi's fate, if he's going to this place, and who will he be on the other side of it. So yeah, I mean that's kind of I guess we didn't walk through the plot of it, but I don't know if we should. I wasn't sure.
You can if you want. Absolutely. You can tell as much or as little as you want.
I mean, I guess I'll just say the Cliff Notes version without giving away where it goes too much, is just that Malachi gets a job, and is moving to this new place, and he's leaving behind his sister who is sick, and the guilt of that decision weighs on him in the story. And when he arrives there, he's faced with kind of a moral quandary when this woman in the street shows up wearing a mask and screaming, and there's a question around, well, should he go out and help her? Your first thought may be no, because it's a horror movie. But in reality, like if you saw someone who seemed like they were in distress and no one else was helping, what does that do to you? So that's I'll just leave it there.
That's very good. So how did the writing process work for you? Because, I'm used to writing novels and I've heard that screenwriting is much different.
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't, I would say, because, and maybe I have an unorthodox writing approach. I think Miles and I, when we write together, like our scripts don't really fully look like, I guess, Hollywood scripts. There's a bit of prose in there. Like we're not afraid to, because, and then maybe it's because we know we're going to direct it, so it's not like we have to make it this perfect spec script for some other director to be able to interpret. It's like, well, we know what we're trying to say. And so a lot of times there is things in there, which a no-no in screenwriting, for example, is you're not supposed to communicate anything you can't see. But sometimes we do that because it's just like, okay, this character is feeling some type of way. I just want the actor to know that. And I want us, as we film this thing, to remember that. And I'll just put it in the script. So there's that. But then I think one standpoint is, for me, is to just write the whole thing out, which is what I did with this. I think I wrote it in one night. The first draft is not what we ended up shooting. Um, but it was enough for me to send to Miles and then to get his feedback and to start workshopping it. And so, the 20th version is probably what we shot. And then on top of that, we were still rewriting things on the way to go shoot it. Like we were on the phone with Whitney, who played the titular girl in the street. Um, and she had questions and we were kind of working through, oh, what if we said this instead? You know what I mean? So the writing process, I guess, technically kind of never ends, because even after we shot it all and we're editing it, there were things we changed, and you could argue, well, that's kind of a rewrite. So um, it was definitely an interesting process.
I can
Yeah.
imagine. Miles, your background is so visual and multidisciplinary. How
Yeah.
did that influence the tone and the look of the film?
So that's kind of actually what the team is, I guess. Like, we do write a lot of stuff together, like collaboratively. But my thing is, how is this gonna look? And I think I would guess like maybe I'm sorry, my dog is like doing a lot. I think my background, maybe as a designer, probably makes me more obsessive over those things. Where I am very nitpicky about the most mundane things. But I mean, and that's maybe the distinction between, like you were saying, as a writer versus what we're doing as filmmakers is it is a visual medium and we can put things down on paper, but ultimately, like it has to be able to translate to something visual. And you could have a great story on paper and it not look like anything. When you put a camera in front of it. So I do think that me being so, I guess, fastidious about like everything being in a particular place, because I think that's another part of our voices coming through, is how we present this idea that's on paper and sort of learning like what our visual like language is. So there was a lot of that in this, probably more than maybe any other film that we shot. I was really kind of like, hey, I think we need to do this with the camera, or we need to move in order to communicate this. And there was a lot of that, of us going back and forth trying to figure out like what voice do we want to use to tell this story? And it changes with every story, but this one in particular, I think this is probably the most I feel like we've really directed like scenes like to really get across some type of like feeling by like moving the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So you guys have a new project called Silk, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Silk is actually, I guess, the seed to Girl in the Street. Like it kind of is how we got to Girl in the Street, honestly. Like I wrote Silk like maybe some months before, we actually, like, started working on A Girl in the Street, and this is the film that we were actually getting to shoot when we were coming back from South by Southwest. We had, like, a team sort of put together and everything, so I wrote that like it was maybe a 4 or 5 page script, and it's kind of a very weird, more surreal, kind of I would honestly say kinda disjointed story where it's meant to feel kinda like you're in this sort of weird dream-like situation. But we wrote that and then we shot it before Girl in the Street, and it's more sci-fi than I would say horror, and it kinda just, surrounds, like, a character who sees a strange commercial, and that commercial is trying to sell her something that she buys that is not good for her, like, in the worst way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kinda came before, and I say it was the seed because it gave us our crew that we ended up using to shoot, Girl in the Street. There was our DP producer, who was not a producer on Silk, but she ended up becoming our producer, gaffers, and a lot of the rest of the team that they had, people that they worked with end up becoming our crew, later on. So it kind of introduced us to, like, our ongoing team right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what is up next for you guys?
Hmm. Well, Silk is actually available now that to watch on our YouTube channel. So anybody who's watched The Girl on the Street, if they want to see more, Silk is available. And that I think in terms of shorts is the last short we're gonna do for a while. We're actually working on a feature. Working through the script on a feature. We have a script written for another one. We have like maybe 3 to 4 projects that are kind of all in different stages of like this is ready to go. This is sort of in process, and they're all kind of different budget levels. And we're all sort of thinking about, okay, what could we do now versus what can we do next year? But the big thing for us is like what we noticed is that our shorts are, we're forcing them to be shorts. Like the girl on the street, when some of the big comments were like, this should be a feature film, this should be longer. I wish there were more. And a big part of it is like, it's not a traditional short because there's like all these different scenes and locations and kind of to this character development that usually you don't get in a short. Usually a short is like a sequence or a scene. And so we know that our sensibility is toward making something longer. And so we're like, well, let's just do it. Like, let's stop acting like you have to make 17 shorts before you can make a feature. Let's just make the next thing we do a feature. And so we're working on something that I'll just say is like, we've kind of called it, it's part of the sort of one crazy night category of films. And so starts off as a date and turns into something else. That's all I can say right now. But um, definitely still in our bag of kind of sci-fi horror stuff. And right now we're in early stages of it, but we're hoping to shoot it later this year, and then that'll be probably the next thing folks see from us would be my guess, unless we tomorrow up and decide we're gonna make another short, I guess. But right now, as of right now, at this moment in time at 4:25 Central Time, that's what's in the cards.
Very cool. So, where can the audience find you guys? You said YouTube, but do you guys have
Yeah.
socials too?
Yeah, if you actually go to our Instagram, which is just Swim Good, just SWYM Good. Both of our names our tags, I mean, are in the bio. So if you go to our Instagram, you'll be able to follow both of us. And I don't think the link. I may need to update. I can add like the Girl in the Street link in there to watch, but if not, if you go to Alter, you can watch Girl in the Street on Alter. It's still pretty new, so it should be kinda at the top of their page. But yeah, if you go on, yeah, our Instagram and kind of follow us from there, and you should be able
Yeah.
to find us everywhere else from there.
Yeah, Swim Good. If you look up Swim Good on YouTube too, you can find our channel and you'll see you
Yeah.
can watch Silk on there. Girl in the Street is cross posted to both Alter and our channel, so you could watch it on either. Yeah, those are the Instagram and YouTube are kind of the best places to find us. And if you're really like into old school internet, you can just go to our website. I know those still exist, which is swimgood.com. So
Very cool. And I'll make sure that those are linked in the show notes for everyone. Thank you both for joining me. This has been great.
thank you for having us. This is awesome.